Top 10 things you need to do to prepare for the coronavirus. With the flare-up of the Wuhan coronavirus, individuals everywhere throughout the world are beginning to pay heed and think the most noticeably awful. All things considered, mainstream society is filled to the edge with prophetically catastrophic situations, including the apocalypse because of a viral flare-up. At the present time, there's little possibility of individuals passing on all at once, and there's no danger of a zombie episode at this time. Yet that doesn't mean the circumstance isn't not kidding and that it couldn't get ugly. Setting yourself up for a flare-up that could clear out a huge number of individuals should be possible. And you don't have to begin delving a sanctuary in your patio to do it. Endurance is tied in with being readied. What you do today could spare your life tomorrow. With that in mind, here are the best 10 fundamental tips to plan for the coronavirus episode. 10. Stockpile food and water. The average person burns between 1,500 and 3,000 calories a day, but without food, the body begins to break down. Dying from hunger is terrible, and it can be 70 days. However, without liquids, dehydration will lead to death in just 3 or 4. Be sure to stockpile a couple of months of canned and dehydrated food per person. Military rations pack a ton of calories and have a shelf life of up to 5 years, so get some if you can. You'll need enough water for at least 2 weeks, but preferably 4. Half a gallon a day for one person is about right. If you run out of the fresh stuff, you can disinfect water from a questionable source by boiling it or adding a touch of iodine or bleach. There's also a great invention called the life straw, which you can use to drink water directly from a contaminated source. The straw filters water as it passes through. I recommend getting several and keeping them on hand. 9. Buy essential tools on the off chance that the plague you're endeavoring to endure is more terrible than the Black Death. There's a decent possibility society will take a short time to refocus subsequent to everything fades away. All things considered, if history's shown us anything, it's that anybody can surrender to ailment, including rulers, presidents, despots, and the person who rings you up at the grocery store. In the event that a major segment of the populace ceases to exist rapidly, you will need to battle for yourself, and that implies you're going to require a few devices. Envision searching for nourishment, yet all you find are bolted and void houses. On the off chance that you have a crowbar, you don't have anything to stress over. Also, there's nothing amiss with breaking into a deserted home while attempting to endure an end of the world. You'll likewise need to have a standard arrangement of devices in a tool compartment. In particular, it ought to incorporate a sledge, screwdriver set, a wrench, and a multi-tool. 8. Get yourself some weapons. Survivalists are notable for accumulating weapons and ammunition, and not only for chasing. On the off chance that the most exceedingly awful occurs, and enough amazing will disintegrate and crumple. After that occurs, life will look a great deal like a dystopian film, and you're going to need to battle for yourself. When zombies begin strolling about, they'll slaughter you and your entire family for a generous dinner and a sheltered spot to remain. Your best barrier is a decent defense, and that implies you'll require weapons. Shotguns are incredible at chasing winged animals, but on the other hand they're perfect for lacking elbow room battle. A rifle is required for chasing greater creatures, so get one with a decent degree. Lastly, guns. They're little, simple to utilize, and have incredible halting force. I'd likewise propose you get a book on chasing and cleaning creatures, in the event that you don't approach weapons because of neighborhood laws. A blade or crossbow is additionally incredible at chasing and safeguarding yourself. At any rate, get a decent chasing blade and trust in the best. 7. Stock up on disinfectant. Plague specialists wore odd veils with noses loaded up with herbs intended to cleanse the air as they relaxed. This was on the grounds that they thought malady was spread through terrible stenches. That thought has been disproven. Yet it gives us a genuine case of how to plan yourself when a disease is airborne or spread through touch. Standard customer items that murder most destructive pathogens are modest and handily found. Load up on Fade, which can clean anything, and as I referenced before, it can make water safe to drink. Hand cleanser is acceptable after all other options have been exhausted. Yet not when there's an awful bug noticeable all around. Get some hand sanitizer, and use it at whatever point you contact basic articles, or interact with others. On the off chance that you don't have any of that, liquor will execute most germs, however it ought to be utilized if all else fails. On the off chance that you choose to purchase an advanced cover, careful ones won't help against the coronavirus. You'll be needing a CBRN grade full face veil. These are synthetic, organic, radiological, and atomic barrier evaluated. 6. Create a safe room and house. You're going to need to guard your home. And that implies you'll need to go to that trusty thing that helped keep the US military running easily for quite a long time: pipe tape. It's anything but difficult to tear. Sticks to everything and will assist you with making sure about your home and keep the infection out. And keeping in mind that you're purchasing the tape, snatch a lot of plastic drop materials. On the off chance that you figure shutting the front entryway and closing all the windows will keep the infection under control, ask yourself, when was the last time a creepy crawly got in? In the event that insects and ants can discover their way into your home, so can an airborne ailment. Utilize the drop fabrics to cover each window and entryway, fixing them with conduit tape as you go. In the event that you have a chimney, close the vent and seal that up as well. The exact opposite thing you have to do is set up an isolate room someplace in your home. This is the place you would put somebody who is giving indications of contamination to segregate him from the remainder of the gathering. 5. Prep your immune system. The main barrier our bodies have against a possibly savage contamination is its insusceptible framework. The most ideal approach to keep yourself fit as a fiddle is to take everything from lysine and vitamin C to practicing normally. You're going to need to reserve some medication. So get together as much as could reasonably be expected. Score a few antimicrobials, and guarantee that any individual who needs insulin or an EpiPen has a prepared inventory. In the event that you have a remedy, don't hold up until the last moment to fill it. Have at any rate a month's stock available, or you could encounter risky withdrawal manifestations, particularly where antidepressants are concerned. Going immediately on physician-endorsed drugs can wreck you quicker than the plague, so consistently ensure you have abundant. Furthermore, you ought to have cold medication, multivitamins, antitoxin balms, and a very much loaded emergency treatment pack. All things considered, you would prefer not to endure the plague of the century and wind up kicking the bucket from a contamination after you get a cut on your hand. 4. Create a bug-out bag. Probably the soonest thing a legislature will do when there's a flare-up is to isolate the contaminated territories. This has occurred in Wuhan, and inside a brief time frame, in excess of 10 million individuals have been compelled to wait. In any case, while this was going on, outsiders who weren't tainted were emptied. In the event that something very similar happens where you may wind up compelled to escape with almost no notification. In these circumstances, it's in every case great to have a bug-out sack prepared. A very much supplied pack needs all the things I've discussed on this rundown. Be that as it may, only enough for a 72-hour time frame. You ought to likewise include a crisis radio, spotlight, save batteries, waterproof matches, and a rock and steel. Remember garments and female cleanliness items too. While you can purchase bug-out packs from different spots on the web, most survivalists would concur, you should stock your own dependent on your own needs and well-being necessities. You'll likewise need to keep a duplicate of your city's debacle plan in it, which can show safe approaches to go in a crisis. 3. Prepare for a barter economy. In the event that the episode clears out a huge bit of the nearby populace, the survivors will be left to get the pieces. The entirety of that valuable money you escaped the bank may not be a lot of good in the fallout. You're going to need to take advantage of history and become familiar with the advantages of a deal economy. Everything in a post-pandemic circumstance will depend on exchange. No one is going to surrender their penicillin for a bar of gold or a wad of money. Before Hitler and his National Communist gathering came to control in Germany, the country was controlled by the Weimar Republic. The economy was in ruins, and the cash at the time was essentially useless. Individuals went to an underground dealing framework and it functioned admirably enough to prop things up. The equivalent is genuine right now in current Venezuela. The most ideal way you can get ready for this is to load up on a great deal of usually required things. This could be sterile treatment, face covers, different sorts of medication, or whatever else individuals should endure a plague of incredible scale. What's more, remember, nuts and bolts, for example, bathroom tissue will be sought after. To get hold of some boredom busters when a flare-up happens and spreads to your zone, you may wind up isolated for quite a while. In the event that the force has gone out, you can disregard viewing The Mandalorian or playing Fortnite. Be that as it may, that doesn't mean you need to leave weariness alone your destruction. Regardless of whether the force has gone out, there's still a ton you can do to remain rational when the social influencer in your gathering understands that Instagram's gone and he needs some consideration. Ensure you have loads of books to peruse. Get an assortment of engaging titles. However, you ought to likewise keep some survivalist manuals close by too. No one can really tell when they may spare your life. Puzzle books and old educational committee games are likewise a magnificent method to relax. Weariness may not murder you straightforwardly, yet it can make your life hopeless, so prepare. 1. Prepare for the worst. It's conceivable that somebody in your gathering will pass on. At the point where that occurs, their body will start to decay very quickly. It will discharge put away gases and stool, and it can in any case spread illness. Ebola is particularly terrible where contamination from carcasses is concerned, on account of the monstrous measure of blood included. In any case, a cadaver can be perilous regardless of whether passing was caused normally. It is fundamental that you don't contact the body without gloves and a cover. Discarding a cadaver is no simple undertaking, and in the event that you viewed our video on staggering scents, you'll realize that the smell of copying people isn't something you need to understanding. Rather than incineration, make like a Mexican medication cartel and break down the remaining parts. Your most solid option is to cover the body and spread it with lye. Get a scoop and burrow an opening around 6 feet down. Cautiously store the body and sprinkle a couple of cups of lye over it, and cover it with earth. Inside a moderately brief time frame, it will pulverize everything except the bones and teeth. I'd prefer to bring up that while this rundown is mostly for diversion, it highlights an undeniable threat today. It would be ideal if you look into your city's debacle plan and ensure you are as readied as you can be. Pandemics and infections don't for the most part give timely guidance. Things are raising and this might be your solitary opportunity to act. Good karma. We may all need it.